It's an interesting time for business. Tariff and trade policies are dynamic, supply chains are squeezed, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. If your business can't adapt in real time, you are in a little bit of hurt. So how do you get full visibility and adapt in real time? Over 42,000 businesses trust NetSuite by Oracle, your AI-powered business management suite. It brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. NetSuite is the #1 cloud ERP for a reason. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. Real-time forecasting helps you move into the future with confidence, and with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in the 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. The perfect product launch. It's the goal for every brand marketer. High heat, fast sellout, and fans posting recipes like trophies. What do Sydney Sweeney's soap drop, Taylor Swift's tickets, and your next launch have in common? Well, they're not bought, they're bragged about. Fanfare turns your drop into a moment. Fanfare cues real fans, blocks bots, and builds launch experiences worth screenshotting. Want hype without the heartbreak? Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook with our proven success formula and make your next launch unforgettable at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, fanfare.io/playbook.
I love the work. It's great, but it doesn't pay well. That is the curse of this industry. Now, I got into this because I've been doing this since I was 4. So that was literally the brainchild of what eventually became this business. But it is a situation where, like, most people in this field do not make remotely anything near a living wage.
Hey, let's talk about Sarah. Sarah Dawn. She is an incredible member of our community and probably has the highest attendance rate in our office hours. And she's just a kind person and such a great soul. And I wanted to bring her on today to do a little coaching with her. As you might remember, we had a person who I coached on not too long ago, and this was a result of a survey that we sent out. Many of you had replied to that survey. That was extremely helpful. Thank you again. But we selected a few people to bring on the show here to coach, just like I used to do on Ask Pat. And I couldn't be more excited about having Sarah Dawn here. Sarah from Sarah Dawn's Designs. She does knitting, crocheting, and the world of knitting and crocheting, that niche inside of the online space is really interesting and, dare I say, intricate. Anyway, I'm sorry. I just like to stitch dad jokes together sometimes like that. Very meta that was. 2 in 1. There you go, everybody. Sorry. I'll keep going here. But there's some things inside of the industry that make it more difficult to monetize. So you'll hear me explore by asking a lot of questions in the beginning about monetization and going over different opportunities. And we discover a few that are of interest to Sarah and are great opportunities for her. So let's dive in. This is Sarah Dawn from SarahDawnsDesigns.com.
You're listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, a proud member of the Entrepreneur Podcast Network, a show that's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host. He was able to get his kids to type faster by hosting words per minute challenges at home. Pat Flynn.
Sarah, welcome to SPI. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so glad you're here. And, I see you almost every week in office hours. I just want to thank you here publicly for all the support and all the help that not just you've offered me in support and showing up, but even to the other people who are in office hours. I always see you communicating with everybody. You're just such a integral part of the community in there. So thank you so much.
Well, now you're going to make me blush.
Nobody can see it, but I can attest to it. And I'm excited because I'm going to dive a little bit into what you have going on. And I'd love for you to maybe introduce what it is that you have going on your end, the things you've tried, and the kind of things that you're interested in, Sarah.
Well, hi. So for those who don't know me, my name is Sarah Dawn of Sarah Dawn's Designs. I am a knit and crochet designer. And for everyone who's now going, wait, what's that? I am the person who writes the patterns that go in the knit and crochet books you might see at a bookstore or a craft shop, also like magazines, that kind of thing. I love the work. It's great. But, and this is where one of the things I'm always stumbling over, it doesn't pay well. That is the curse of this industry. Well, fashion across the spectrum. I mean, it's the reason I could go on a tangent about like sweatshop labor, but it's the same unfortunate ideal that a lot of the textile industry is not well paid. Now, I got into this because I've been doing this since I was 4. So it's like, I can do this. And when I was like, need my own job. Okay, what can I do? Oh, I can knit things. That was literally the brainchild of what eventually became this business. But it is a situation where like most people in this field do not make remotely anything near a living wage.
So what are we talking about in terms of revenue opportunities? So you say these patterns, where are they being sold and just for how much essentially?
So I'm selling patterns for between $6 to $8. The $6 ones are ones that are going to update. Like I'm going to bring all my patterns up to 7 minimum. So as I go through and like add patterns, like fix dead links and update typos, I bring the price up. And then so my small stuff like hats, mitts, and scarves, those are 7. And my big stuff like this monster, this is an almost 6-foot square lace monstrosity.
It looks cool.
Can I actually put this on with my headphones? I didn't think this through. Anyway, this is almost 6 feet square of lace. And like any of the big patterns, so this, a couple garment patterns that are going to be coming out, they're going to be 8 or even 9, depending on how complex they are. But that is about the upper area of what the market will do, because traditionally knitting patterns have been free. The concept of buying them individually is still comparatively new and really only thanks to the internet.
Are you selling them on Etsy? Is that where they're being sold?
I have an Etsy and I have them in my own web shop, which is being run through PayHip. I did have them on Ravelry, which is a knitting and crochet marketplace, but there were shenanigans, and most of my patterns, unless there's a contractual reason, are no longer there. Which, by the way, highlights the whole make sure your patterns are, like, make sure anything you're selling, you have a backup, because oh no.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. My wife and my daughter both are now crocheting quite a bit. And I still have to, and this will take us into a tangent, so we probably won't go there, but I don't even know the difference between knitting and crocheting. And I'm sure you perhaps have a better definition.
Everyone gets it wrong.
I'm sure.
Simple knitting is 2 or more pointy sticks, crochet is a hook.
Got it. That's the clearest answer I've heard so far. So thank you for that. So yes, my daughter and my wife are using the hooks. So they are crocheting. And they are finding a lot of patterns online that are for free. My wife has picked up a few books that have specific sort of niche type of crochet patterns. And my daughter had come up to me the other day and asked me for a pattern that she saw for sale on Etsy. And it was going for about $6 to $8 for the pattern itself. Do people who generate revenue through patterns like you do also sell finished products as well? Is that a thing, or is that...
It's a rare thing. So some people do. But the catch is that's 2 different markets, because the people who are going to buy the patterns aren't likely to buy the finished thing. So it is diverse at 2 different markets. And if you're going to make even a minimum wage for your crochet or knitting stuff, you're looking at a couple $100. A sweater is, depending on your sizing and your fiber, could be $1,000. Most people balk at that because they just don't have that money.
Yeah.
So you'll have the odd client who appreciates something hand knit or hand crocheted, and they'll do it. But most people, putting aside everything else, who has $400 to drop on a sweater? There are people out there, sure, but not a lot of them.
That makes sense. Are there specific people in the industry of pattern creation and pattern selling that are just crushing it, like at the top? And if so, what kinds of things are they doing that's special, it seems?
There are, and I haven't figured out what they're doing to mimic yet.
Okay.
Like, I look at what they're doing.
So they just perhaps just have the audience already?
Some of them have also been around for like 25 years or so, so they're like big names. So if it's like, oh yeah, I know so-and-so, they do this. I think that's part of their kind of a household name in the knitting and crochet community. Others, it's again, they obviously have a team that's backing them. And I also know that for some of them, they've got a spouse or a partner or something where that person is bringing in the income. And so then they can take some of that income and put it into like buying the things they need. So they've got that additional income stream that helps them do the things like pay somebody or pay for software or whatever they need to do.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately not a luxury I have.
That makes sense. Okay. We're just brainstorming together about different revenue streams. What could a person do to in person or sort of like course creation? Have you thought about any of that, teaching other people how to do the actual things?
So I do offer in-person classes. And of course, that got completely nerfed by the pandemic, and that's only slowly coming back. I've taught at a couple of festivals as well, but that's a very difficult in. So like once you're in on a festival and they're like, oh, we like you, then they'll usually ask you to come back. But it's getting, because they only can have so many people and they get a lot of people coming in going, hey, I want to teach XYZ thing. So they tend to stick with the people who they know, because what happens is the festival then, like the classes are usually separate from festival admission. So it's like, you're paying, I don't know, $5 to enter the festival, but then it's like, here's, $30 for this class or $40 for this class. So the festival people want to know that they can basically have, I guess, like a little bit of star power or interest power. So people will go buy the classes. I have taught at some festivals. I loved it. But it's kind of getting into that roster because, they only have, let's say, 10 class slots or 15 class slots or something.
Yeah.
So that's on the radar. I've done it once. I loved it. But it is noodling my way into more.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely an opportunity there, especially if you enjoy doing that and you have such a bubbly personality. I think that could be a big strength for you. And I think a lot of it has to do with, and you've heard me teach this before, it's about relationship building in those arenas and knowing who the decision makers are and helping them out and serving first, and then building a relationship such that you could potentially continue to get invited or even recommended to other events and things like that. That's obviously not super scalable, but it is sounding like that there is an opportunity there for some development.
A little bit of story time with that one, actually. So one of the shawls I did, I worked with a dyer here in Canada, in Ontario, and I just bought her yarn. Like, I didn't like work with her. It was just, I bought her yarn. I'm like, oh, this will be perfect. So, then she's actually the one, because most of the people in this industry wear multiple hats and work in multiple things. She was the one who was for this festival, like doing all the wrangling for like, oh, I'm the contact point for all the teachers coming in. So, we're going into our classrooms, yada, yada. She's like, I know you. And I'm like, I know you. And it was this moment of like,
yeah, you bought her yarn.
Yeah, but not only that, but like she's seen me put that shawl up and then be like,
yep.
It's a sort of courtesy that in the knitting and crochet world that if you do that, you tag the yarn or the dyer. It's like, this is this person's yarn, And so she's like, I know you. Oh yeah, I know you.
That's how it is, and that's really cool. Have you followed up with that person at all?
I have, and there's tentative thoughts that I might be back for next year. They just have to finalize everything. So hopefully.
Cool. Okay, well, those are events, and that's nice. Have you ever explored teaching some of your workshops in an online fashion, whether in a paid thing or even for free on a platform like YouTube or something like that?
So I am getting into the world of making YouTube tutorials because I actually got asked to do so. I have learned that video editing and recording is not my strong point, so we're going to see how this goes.
It's not a lot of people's strong points, that's for sure. And it does hold a lot of people back.
What I'm looking at, though, is I'm looking at actually doing, and this is like a longer term project because I have to film all the tutorials, which takes time because it takes a while to knit the thing because I have to knit through it. I'm looking at doing a socks class. And I have all the brainstorming, like all of the modules worked out. Now it's literally, I just need to be like, okay, I need to go through and just film the making of the sample, not quite start to finish, but all the steps. And then I'm thinking I'll have it do dual purpose. I'll have it on YouTube, and then I'll have it in the course with much more structure to be like, okay, here's the tutorial on how to knit a sock cuff, but if you want the full course, go here. And then I'll bundle the pattern I'm using just right into the course as well.
I love that idea a lot, actually. What's stopping you from doing that?
Time, because I have 15 bazillion magazine samples that I have to knit and just recording it all and getting it, because I have to do all the recording. And it takes about a week to knit a pair of socks if I do nothing else. But there's always something else, so it's just the process of doing it. And there's, unfortunately, like I said, I've got 3 magazine samples and a sponsored knitting on the needles right now. So I'm going like, hi, yeah, no, that's not happening right now.
And those are obviously important. There's revenue in that, and you want to keep those relationships too.
Yeah.
If you were to potentially chip away at this, however, what might that look like in your life to slowly but surely kind of make progress, even weekly, on this somehow? What might that look like?
Well, that's mostly what I've been doing. And the first step is one that I finished just late 2023, which was getting the actual pattern done. Like that, the pattern I want to use in the course is now you can go buy it on Etsy and up in my shop. That's the first what I wanted to do, because that means that I know that's done and I know what the course will actually look like because I know what all the steps for that pattern are. Because it's like, what tutorials do I need? And now that that's done, now it's going in and trying to figure out even where I'm going to host this course. I'm looking at either Teachable or PayHip has, which is the service I use for my shop. They have a course thing, but it's not as robust because it's a Swiss Army knife rather than P-Tools dedicated.
Right.
So I have to play around with it. But on the other side, if I go to Teachable, I have to pay for the Teachable subscription, whereas it's already covered on PayHip, so money.
Yeah, PayHip might be just, if it were simple, what would it look like? You've heard me ask that before. It might just be on the platform that you're already familiar with, and people who purchase the patterns, you can go, hey, by the way, here's the course on how to actually do this pattern. And that's a great experiment. I would see what we could do to get to that point so that we can begin to see, okay, does this actually work? And do I like it? And then you can take parts of that and put it onto YouTube and use a lot of the strategies that we talk about with regards to YouTube in terms of a really nice thumbnail. I think a lot of, and I've seen it because my daughter has been looking it up, a lot of the well-performing videos on YouTube have really good photos of the thing that's being created, right? But you also have the benefit of it being very, sometimes cute, sometimes colorful, sometimes very pattern-driven, and that captures a person's eye. So I definitely think there's an advantage to your industry. And of course, having needles or hooks in there, just adding these lines and these thumbnails really help it stand out. I do think there's an opportunity there, which could then help bring not just more people to buy your patterns, but also more people to see these courses that you have on top of these patterns because they saw you on YouTube, they like the style, they like the vibe, and they want to get more of you. And then if that works, then okay, we can maybe take one less magazine thing this month to put more time into this thing this next month. You can kind of go from there and take it by steps. But I think that's the first big milestone, is to see what you can do to put that up and see if we can get that rock and rolling.
Unfortunately, you're also hitting on the fact that my own photography skills are also not the greatest. There's a reason I pay somebody to do the product photography, because it is not my skill. So it's like, oh, okay. Now, I've started into YouTube because people are specifically asking me for some stitch tutorials, especially for some of the weirder ones. But it takes, I'm still in the era of, editing takes forever, because I'm just not used to it. I will say I feel like I'm getting better, but I'm still in the, I'm still learning what the keyboard shortcuts are. I'm still learning the, hacks of, the thing about where you do, the claps or the clicks. That's that's sped up my editing, but I'm still at the stage of,
that's good.
How do I, make this not take forever?
I mean, that is the question. And I think that's a question that all of us need to ask with regards to whatever it is that we continually do and repeat over and over again. I mean, tell me your process for filming, for example, a lesson now. What does that look like?
So if I'm filming, if I'm playing a lesson in person, I'll do it in Zoom, and I have a top-down camera that they can see my hands, and I tell them I need to be able to see their hands, and we just talk back and forth as we go.
Oh, that's cool.
If I'm filming for YouTube, I'll clip something either out of a YouTube live stream, or I'll be like, okay, I know I'm going to need to record this tutorial for this pattern. So then I just record it. Then I have to go through and edit it all, because I find I record way too much. And then I do a complete voiceover. So I don't, whatever audio is going on, I just cut that right out.
That's going to make the final product much better and much tighter for sure.
And like I said, I do a voiceover, because the advantage there is I actually read from a script. Because you can probably see I am very distractible. And if I don't read from a script, I will go off on the random direction of, oh, wait, now we're over here. So I found that I have to stick to a script, because when I live stream, I go everywhere, which apparently I'm told is part of the charm, but also, oh no, not what you want for a...
You know what? I was going to say that too, Sarah. What if we just left it as it was and we just got full Sarah, full distraction, full personality, full bubbly, and that's going to be your unique selling proposition, right? If you chopped it up and made it like all these other tutorials, then it's just going to blend in, right? And yes, some people are going to see those and go, wow, this person talks really fast and is not my style. And that's good. They'll move on to somebody else. But then you'll have other people who are saying what you're already hearing, which is your charming, bubbly personality, the effervescence is attracting. And so why leave that out? And what's your response to that?
In the live streams, I do go all over the place. But I found the tutorials, for one thing, those others are practical. For some reason, the Google and YouTube captions, they hate me. And it does not understand knitting terminology. To the point where I actually got in trouble because I was talking about the physics of silk yarn, and it thought I was talking about something adult-rated is what we'll go with. And I was like, oh, no. So I actually got a warning for that. And I've learned that it does not handle knitting shorthand at all. So when I script, I can then take the script that I'm reading off of and copy-paste it into the YouTube text box thing. And it saves me so much time cleaning up all the captions, which is the thing for me.
I see.
Because one of the things that I do is I specifically, my target audience is knitters and crocheters with disabilities, because I've got a lot of background in adaptive design and universal design, and I've taught students with disabilities. So it's like, oh, I know this stuff. I know how to adapt and what tools you might need. I can help work you through that. So I better have captions if I'm saying, hey, my content is accessible.
Running a business means legal questions are inevitable. Is this contract or agreement solid? What can I do if a client won't pay me? Am I set up properly for taxes? Well, rather than trying to navigate all of this on your own or searching endlessly online, imagine having a law firm on your side without the high hourly rates. That's exactly what Legal Shield's small business plans offer. With Legal Shield, entrepreneurs get access to real legal support, contract reviews, collection letters, guidance on business formation, and even help handling IRS audits. Members can book consultations, upload documents through the app, and work with a provider law firm that understands small business laws in your state. You also get proactive help on tax and trademark questions so you can stay ahead of legal risks. And if a client delays payment, Legal Shield can send professional collection letters to help you recover what you're owed, all for a fraction of what traditional attorneys charge. Go to LegalShield.com/SPI or call 833-570-9980 to learn more and get big business legal support without a big business budget. That's LegalShield.com/SPI. Do you know the secret to businesses that are scaling faster than ever? They're using Upwork to tap into a diverse pool of skilled freelancers across various industries. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts who are ready to help you take your business to the next level. I've personally used Upwork myself and can vouch for it. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelancer profiles, get help drafting a job post, or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them to take your business to the next level. Upwork makes the entire process easier, simpler, and more affordable with industry-low fees. Post a job today and hire tomorrow with Upwork. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That is Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help you grow your business. That's Upwork.com. Again, Upwork.com. Well, I love that take on being the one who makes knitting and crocheting more accessible to people who wouldn't normally be able to do that. That in and of itself is an incredible, unique selling proposition. And
personal frustration because, wait, what do you mean your yarn shop doesn't have a wheelchair ramp?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, for a while I was using a wheelchair. Now I'm just using a cane to get around. But when I was using a wheelchair, there were a bunch of festivals and places I just could not go. And I just got kind of, well, I'm going to have to fix this, aren't I?
Yeah, well, I love that. And so it makes sense to spend a little extra time to make sure that those who will need it will have what's available to them in the captions and such. But I always think there's a way to shave at least 20 to 25% of that working effort to create something. A part of that will happen just naturally the more you do it, right? So that just, your process will be more refined the more reps you put in, just like crocheting and knitting, right? It's pieces that kind of fit together, and then all of a sudden at the end you're super proud of this thing, right? If you maybe approached your YouTube videos as if it were a crochet project and you are just kind of getting through these patterns and coming up with these systems and shorthands like you said, eventually you could probably get to the point where you're moving pretty quickly.
Or I would just completely leave it in the back of a dark closet for a year. Because that's where some of them ended up.
That's probably true. But I think that you, again, are not able to reach the people that you could if you didn't more regularly publish on YouTube. And like I said, you have this incredible personality and you have the ability to, on YouTube, reach people who you wouldn't be able to normally reach. How are you getting people to your website currently? Like what are the stats like there?
So the number one traffic point is actually the Ravelry Marketplace, which is a specialized social media forum thing for knitters and crocheters. It's a cool website. There is one major downside with it, which is that they did a website redesign that causes seizures.
That's not good.
No, it's not. And I won't go into too much of the drama, but let's just say the staff response was not polite about it. So the people there in those communities are they're wonderful people. The staff were not. And so I am on there pretty minimally, but it's still sort of an industry standard site for things like, because it's a database. So if you publish a pattern and you can say it's in this magazine or it's in this point. So I still get a lot of traffic from Ravelry because it's got an incredible search function. Because you can go in and you can say, I want this type of yarn, I want this yarn thickness, I want this type of pattern, I want a sweater, I want a shawl, I want a hat, whatever. You can filter it even for I have X amount of yarn, what can I make? And so Ravelry search is absolutely probably the best I've ever seen. But unfortunately, I, as a business person, I don't feel comfortable, if I link to Ravelry going yeah, no, I'm linking to a site that I know causes seizures. No, I'm not cool with that.
Yeah.
So that's my number one traffic source still.
Is there a workaround on the mobile version?
Mobile's even worse. For me personally, I run a CSS style sheet that eliminates the problematic parts of it so that I don't get my horrible blending headaches. But also it's still do I really want to give these people money because they were pretty rude about the fallout of this? It's do I really want to give you, because the way they work is they take a percentage of your pattern sales. And do I really want to be selling patterns for you? Because I kind of don't this is not cool anymore.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate and that's sad because, they should be, they're obviously aware of it, but they're choosing not to do anything about it. And there's the boycotting kind of position of it, I'm just not going to use it and it's just my belief and people can get behind you on that. Or there's the more proactive sort of protest kind of approach that one could take, but then you end up becoming, David versus Goliath in a situation like that sometimes. And it might be better worth just hopefully waiting they redo the website or something, or just have enough people speak up, right? You can be one of several who says something enough to finally, and I don't even know if I'm sure there are some sort of accessibility laws on websites. I know there are for some things. I don't know specifically about Caesar-driven things, but wow, there's a lot of layers there.
This was actually a bit ago, and so what's happened is, what I personally decided to do is I don't, unless there's a contractual reason, I don't sell my patterns through them anymore. There's a couple that are because contracts and such. But because it's a database, I can edit it and say, hey, the primary purchase link is now my web shop.
Yeah.
And that's basically what I've done.
That's true. We do that with SwitchPod too. Instead of sending people to Amazon, we send people directly to our website, and then we don't have to share any of the revenue with
exactly.
Amazon as well.
So
right?
that's perfectly fine there. It's a little bit less traffic because people like having the patterns available through there, but I'm still in the search results and people click the pattern. They're like, oh, and it's one more click. And it seems like people are willing to do it. I don't have great data on that, but like that seems to be okay. And then I have my patterns in Etsy, and I do very little with that beyond occasionally going, hi, I have it in Etsy, because Etsy search actually is surprisingly efficient. I don't get a lot of purchases on Etsy, but I have never had a single purchase through my own like social media links. What I'm getting is either through Etsy's offsite ads program, which is where Etsy puts an ad up on Google and then someone comes through, or where someone was looking for a pattern on Etsy and bought mine. So Etsy is very secondary, but it pays for itself. So I'm happy.
Yeah, that's good. And this is what a part of the reason why I think building an audience on YouTube in a more public forum, it would allow you to share some of these things more openly. Like, hey, I would link here, but they do this and I just don't believe that. So come to my website instead. Might spark a conversation. You have now a team of people, community behind what it is that you're doing. And, many people, especially once they get to know you and get to connect with you, will go, you know what, I am going to take those extra 2 clicks to make sure you get rewarded for that. And that's where building the audience and putting your personality and yourself out there can really favor you, especially long-term. I'm curious, what is working best for you right now in the world of crocheting and knitting for the work that you're doing?
Weirdly enough, I actually would say some of the yarn companies and magazines. For example, I can't talk about it too much, but I've got a garment pattern coming out. And the way those usually work is it's basically the company will ask for like anywhere, depending on the contract, if it's 6 months or a year or whatever, if they distribute the pattern. And then after that, the rights come back to me and I can republish it, put it in my style guide and toss it up onto the internet to the various places. But the thing is, they do a huge publicity push, and usually there's some backlinks and stuff for that. But also, if the company's doing it, I don't pay a tech editor. I usually don't pay a photographer. I can get around a lot of the expenses for this, and I get a lot of I get the links up. So they'll be like, oh yeah, it's designed by this person on Instagram, and I see the uptick in follows on Instagram when a magazine says hey, I found a story.
Oh, that's neat.
The downside is they don't pay well. I don't want to be throwing magazines at the bus because most of them they're not doing that to be jerks. They're doing that because they can't pay themselves.
Right. I was going to say.
I was listening to a podcast. They were interviewing the editor for Making Stories magazine, and she was talking about how they were running this successful knitting magazine, and she couldn't afford to pay herself.
I mean, that's common.
So I can't fault the fact that they're doing this.
But it's not direct income to you. It's potential indirect from people following you, people getting to know you, and again, getting to gel with your personality and the kinds of styles of crochet and knitting patterns. And so there's definitely benefit to continue that. I would imagine that if you were to scale that or do more or get onto larger platforms like that, that would trickle down and ultimately help you in your business, right?
That's exactly it. I've seen it very slowly trickle down. It's a very slow trickle down. From talking to people in the industry, it runs between 10 to 12 years if you're going to start making any serious income on this. And most of the people who do this, they have the bazillion hats. They're on Patreon, they're on Etsy, they teach, they're at festivals, they're doing this, that, and everything else. They publish books or whatever. Yeah, the warning I got is it's usually 10 to 12 years, and I have not been here that long. So it does track.
Yeah. Well, you're putting in the work, you're putting in the time, building, I think, again, you could speed up that 10 to 12 year process with building your audience and becoming known for certain things, and also B, the relationships that you build. I mean, there's always going to be an average amount of time that something is required to take, but that's just the average. You could take longer, or you could find the shortcuts to take the shorter route. And I think that you have all the puzzle pieces in place to do that. It's just like we were talking about earlier, the time and getting the reps in.
Time? What is that?
Yes. I know there's knitting machines, but there's no such thing as a crocheting machine.
All of that's handwork. And even knitting machine, it goes either back and forth or just in a round, like in a tube. But if you want to do anything like this, if it's a singular repeated pattern, you can sometimes program it in. But let's say, you could not do this piece on a knitting machine. You couldn't do it because there's a whole bunch of increase and decrease stitches.
Just the loops and...
Well, the loops it can do, but what happens is all the shaping that makes it the crescent, you have to still, you can stop the knitting machine, manipulate the stitches by hand, then run the machine. Then stop the machine, manipulate the stitches by hand, run the machine. So you can do it, but it's not nearly as effective as if you're just knitting something like a flat piece, then yeah, the machines go quickly, that's fine. The problem with that, of course, is that any shaping that is not very simple, you have to have someone go in there and futz about with the stitches to make it go faster. And also, I've tried a knitting machine and I just did a lot of swearing because it's not for me. The yarn tangled, it jammed.
That would be a good video.
I do not own said knitting machine anymore because it was that swear-inducing. But yeah, I did have one when I was younger and it was just, why? This machine is annoying. No.
The last thing I'll say here as we wrap up, and this has been such a great conversation to get an inside look at, and I've just enjoyed this personally because to see you in office hours every week, I've now gotten to know you on a much deeper level. I do feel like there's an opportunity we had talked about a lot of the things with the magazines, and I feel like there's always an opportunity for creators like us to take a relationship with a company one step further, to go into not a partnership, but even a collaboration. How might I become a spokesperson for this particular company or their magazine? Or, again, even if it's not for a paid thing, it's more exposure. So does that spark any ideas for you in terms of, are there any companies, potentially relationships that you've started that you could take to the next level? You know how I've become an advisor for a number of different companies. I'm sure there may be an equivalent, not advisor because it's not tech startup type stuff, but as far as like a brand representative who has an audience who can then speak highly and also use and even experiment, test new products and become this sort of go-to brand partner, if you will, for a certain company. I feel like, especially in your space, there's probably a lot of people who are doing a lot of similar things to you, working with these magazines, working as creators, but just not thinking on that next level with these partners. I do think there might be an opportunity there if you were to either meet them at an event or connect with them in a much deeper capacity. What do you think about that?
I think some of the smaller magazines just wouldn't have that in like the budget, but some of the larger companies, I'm not sure how to start that. I have an affiliate link with some of the larger companies, and I've worked with them. Specifically, I worked with both We Crochet and Nitpicks, which are under the Crafts Americana big bundle. And I loved working with them. They're great. And further, they even have a pattern royalty system, so I get paid even after this stuff, even when you buy stuff on their website too, which is great.
Oh, that's cool.
But so I've talked with them, but I don't know if they do anything. Like, I've made some subtle hints, but I don't really go past anything of a like.
How would you know for sure?
Yeah, like that's the thing. Maybe there is, but I've also never seen anyone speaking on that. I've never seen them do YouTube sponsorships. I've never seen them do any kind of brand ambassador stuff. I've seen them do affiliates, and I've seen them like give stuff to influencers and to streamers, but I've never seen anyone say like, "Hey, I'm sponsored by this company," even in our industry.
How would you know if they actually would do that or not?
I guess it's a figure who to ask, and that's the thing. I'm not sure who to ask.
Exactly. You just go and find it out. I mean, you know that there's somebody there who is the decision maker, and I think, again, this is what will separate those who do get this opportunity and those who don't. Is you step up and say, "Okay, I'm determined to figure out who this person is, and I'm going to show them that I can help them out, and we'll see if we can make something happen." I would highly recommend listening to our good friend of SPI, Justin Moore from Creator Wizard, who is talking a lot about these company to brand partnership relationships and how to go about doing it in a way where everybody wins. And I do think that, again, with your personality, your brand, how long you've been in this space, and kind of what you're doing, and the sort of business components that you are going to add on top of it, that it could be a really big win for you.
Yes, I actually have been following along. I think you were actually the one who introduced me to Justin. I think it was you who I found Creator Wizard through. I don't actually remember. I just now know I'm subscribed, and I'm pretty sure it came through you.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad, because he's a good guy. He's helping the smaller creators understand that they have a lot of leverage that just is not being used.
I will say one of the things that I've taken away from what I'm learning from him is how to tweak the design calls. Because when a magazine or a yarn company wants something, they go like, "Here's our theme, designed to the theme," then we choose what we want. And just some of what he said is like, I can apply that to the calls these magazines put out for submissions. Hey, cool. Like, even little stuff like that.
Yeah.
I have to figure out how to make this YouTube thing happen, which I already knew. I just think I needed the kick in the butt.
Yeah. I'll give you permission to go into YouTube or that kick in the butt virtually if you need it. But anyway, Sarah, I look forward to seeing where you go from here. And obviously, we'll be able to keep in touch in office hours and such. If you could tell everybody who's listening where they can go to see your knitting patterns and discover more about you, where would you like them to go?
So the simple one is just Sarah Dawn's Designs. That is me. It's Sarah Dawn's with an S. It is the plural. There is a Sarah Dawn Designs, their photographer. It gets confusing. I get their emails occasionally. No, Sarah Dawn's Designs. And that is me. That's the website. That's most of the socials. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you've got questions, you can reach me there. And thank you again for hosting this. I'm now less nervous, and this was a blast.
This was so much fun. Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that coaching call with Sarah Dawn. You can find her designs and crocheting and knitting patterns at sarahdawnsdesigns.com. And I hope the situation with the website that she was talking about gets situated, because that's just not cool. And I think accessibility is something that often is overlooked when it comes to websites. And like a place, it is a place that people go, and certain people can't access them because of certain things that are on the website. So, and I think we've talked about this before on the website. I think it's another great reminder of that, and hopefully something can be done. And again, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on and for your energy and your vulnerability today. We'll have another coaching call next month. We have another person who I had the pleasure of interviewing. In fact, she was a voice actress of a Dragon Ball Z character who is starting something up, and we go over some coaching on how to do that as well. So that'll come next month, not in the next episode or next week here, but make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm here to help, here to serve, and help you get things done for yourself. You got this. Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Smart Passive Income podcast at smartpassiveincome.com. I'm your host, Pat Flynn. Sound editing by Duncan Brown. Our senior producer is David Grabowski, and our executive producer is Matt Gartland. The Smart Passive Income podcast is a production of SPI Media and a proud member of the Entrepreneur Podcast Network. Catch you next week. Hey, fellow podcaster, does this sound like something you've experienced? You record your podcast episode on one platform, download the files, edit in another app, then fire up a different tool just to create these social clips? Well, it can be clunky, time-consuming, and frankly overwhelming, especially for creators trying to grow. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Riverside. Riverside is the all-in-one platform. Record, edit, and repurpose your podcast content all in one place. You just log in, record with your guests no matter where you are in the world, and just like that, studio-quality audio and high-resolution video. We use Riverside here at SPI as well now. With built-in AI, I can automatically clean up my audio, saving myself so much editing time, and it can even auto-generate clips to make promoting the show a breeze. And with Magic Clips, I can grab the best moments and repurpose them as short-form video, perfect for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, or Instagram, without re-recording a thing. So if you're tired of juggling tools and want a faster, simpler way to create and scale your content, it's time to try Riverside, built by creators for creators. Just go to smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside and use code SMART to get 1 month free on the Pro plan. That's smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside, promo code SMART. I get it. You want to grow your business, but selling at scale feels overwhelming. You're drowning in complicated funnels, creating different lead magnets, or constantly posting on social media. And that gets exhausting fast, especially when you're trying to sell to hundreds or thousands of people. But what if you could sell at scale with a simple, powerful quiz? A score app quiz or assessment asks your audience key questions and gives them instant personalized results based on their answers. Your audience gets to know where they are now and shows them the steps they need to hit their goals. You can set up a quiz in minutes using Score App's templates and have a powerful lead magnet that'll do the selling for you. The best part is your audience actually wants to take this quiz, and you build huge amounts of trust before you even make a single offer. No hard sales, no chasing leads, just value at scale. Get 50% off the first 3 months using the discount code SPI. Just head to scoreapp.com/SPI. Again, that's scoreapp.com/SPI.